Today in the battle arena with the Batman coming out, well, we've got Batman going up against Batman, going up against, you guessed it, Batman. So who's coming out on top here? Who's going to win? Let's find out. Now, the Batman is out now, and oh man, what an amazing movie. Such a great movie, such a great Batman movie. It really dives into the idea of Batman as both a detective and Batman as a young man who's still trying to figure things out. He's a bit raw and rageful and inexperienced, and is still even trying to figure out why he's doing this whole Batman thing. Like, what are his true motivations here? Is he trying to stop crime and help others, or to make sure that another kid doesn't have to lose his parents in a dark alley? Or, deep down, is he still just a scared and angry little kid who just wants to lash out and hurt the thing that hurt him? So yeah, The Batman was amazing. One of the best superhero movies I've seen in the past few years. Definitely exceeded all of my expectations for it. So that's my 1 minute quick little review, but why am I telling you this? Well, it's because Robert Pattinson kind of kills it as a more angsty young Bruce. Just the fact that we've got a new Batman now means that we can do this three-way fight. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we all know Batman, just a normal guy. Whether he's an older guy, a younger, moody guy, a good-looking guy with an eyeball that you will not be able to stop focusing in on, now that I pointed out to you, Batman is just a man. He's just a guy. But he is just in peak physical condition. Absolutely the best shape a guy can be in. That's Batman. Like, look at Batfleck. Now he's been protecting Gotham for decades. And during that time, well, it's safe to say that he grew a bit jaded, a bit cynical. So he was kind of fighting with just reckless abandon in the first movie, picking up and throwing dudes with one arm, throwing guys so hard they're busting up walls and floors. He even grabbed a big old wooden crate with his grapple gun, chucked it at a guy, sent that guy flying. I guess all that working out really paid off in the end. He's able to regularly knock people out with one hit, ragdoll guys around. He's even fought against legitimate superhumans before, sending parademons flying back with its attacks. But he's not the only strong Batman. Bale is pretty strong too.
What is the point of all those push-ups if you can't even lift a bloody log?
He's able to casually knock people out with just one or two hits, ragdoll guys around. He's actually broken apart metal on more than one occasion. He's caught and lifted up Raish with just one arm. And then I have no idea what this is. I have no idea what's going on here. But he threw a batarang and a train exploded. I don't want to say Bruce is that strong, but these are what his explosives typically look like. They don't look like batarangs. So again, I don't really know what's going on there, but it's something. And then this is a little bit disappointing. Not for the movie as a whole, but for Pattinson in this fight. But this Batman doesn't have like the most insane strength feats. He pushed some wreckage out of the way, but that really boiled down to like some rafters and some speakers. It's not like the craziest thing ever. He's able to knock people out with one or two punches, but that's not going to separate you from the other two Batmen. Every single Batman can do that. See, and not the best showing. But it's not just that Batman is supposed to be strong. That armor he's wearing is legit. It's kind of crazy. Like with Batfleck, he's been able to survive explosions at point blank range. Literally at point blank range. He's been thrown around by parademons. And as if that wasn't enough, his suit is completely bulletproof. Like guns pressed up directly to his head, kind of bulletproof. In fact, Batman's armor has blocked bullets on several occasions, so it's not just like this one-off thing. Then with his new gauntlets, he's able to block heat vision blast from Superman. Although he might have a copyright infringement lawsuit coming his way from Wonder Woman, so better keep your eye out for that, Bruce.
A gauntlet that captures and dissipates energy.
It's Master Wayne's idea.
Maybe you should work on a lasso too. In black, of course.
And then to top it all off, Batfleck isn't necessarily, like, slow. In fact, the dude is already fast enough to dodge bullets. And if that wasn't already hard enough to dodge a bullet, Batman did it while dangling from the ceiling. See, it's stuff like this where Snyder just kind of nails Batman and the myth, the legend of Batman in Gotham. Because if I saw something like that, I wouldn't think he was human either. Okay, so what about Bale? Well, a lot of the same stuff. He survived explosions before, survived literally being set on fire, then jumping out of a building. He just casually launched himself out of like a 75-floor skyscraper. Didn't even seem to be fazed by any of it. And then just had the absolute piss beat out of him by Bane. Ended up having his back broken in half. Still managed to recover, and then beat Bane in the rematch. Now, his armor probably isn't as bulletproof or as knife-proof or anything like that as the other Batman, but that's okay, because if there's one thing we know for certain, it's that Batman is not going to be coming at you with guns. You hear that, Bruce? No guns.
I believe you.
God, come on, man. One rule. Just one rule. Now, Bale, he's pretty fast too. Not necessarily in the dodging bullets way, although he can kind of do that, more in the fighting way.
A little fighting you. I like that. And you're gonna love me.
Like, look at this, where he took down 12 to 15 thugs all circled in around him, just like 20 seconds. That's less than a second per thug. They were all fighting him at once. That is insanely fast and insanely efficient. So yeah, it's not like he's dodging bullets while dangling from the ceiling, but if you're working with that kind of speed in a fight, then you are for sure going to be a threat. Then there's Pattinson. Battinson. And he's kind of in a weird spot. A little bit in the middle. Because holy crap, is his armor durable. Like, oh my gosh, is it tough. The man can just stand there and take automatic gunfire like it's nothing. Everything just bouncing off of him and falling right to the floor. And he can take all sorts of guns, rifles, pistols, handguns, even point-blank shotgun blast. Think about that. Batman over here is getting shot by pistols. Pattinson can take on shotgun blast, just operating on two completely different tiers there. But on top of that, well, he's been electrocuted, he's taken punches and kicks and beatings, taken full-on explosions, stuff like that. He even jumped at the top of the GCP building, used his parachute to slow him down a little bit, but not too much, because then he ran headlong into a bridge and took the rest of that impact for sure. It's not the same as Batman jumping headfirst out of a skyscraper, but also kind of the same thing. I mean, it's not like his armor is absolutely perfect. He's been knocked out before, knocked down quite a few times, but still, it is insanely tough. Easily the toughest armor here. But here's the problem for Battinson. Because he's so tough, because he doesn't have to worry about bullets at all, he doesn't really try dodging them or moving out of the way at all. He just kind of stands there and lets it happen. He just stands there and takes it. So no real bullet dodging feats on his end. And sure, Batman is super fast in a fight, can take out thugs with just a move or two, just a second or two, but every Batman can do that. Nothing really sets Bat-Pat apart here. So physically, probably Batfleck, best combination of strength, speed, and durability here. Yeah, I'd stand by that. And I just want to pause real quick, say if you're enjoying this video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, helps us out a ton in the YouTube algorithm. Go check us out on TikTok. Also, be sure, go check the merch, the link in the description down below. We have merch now, which is super cool. And so go check that out. And now back into the video. So Batman might just be a normal human physically, but that's because that's not really his main thing. Not really. He might just be a guy, but he's a guy who's arguably the best fighter on Earth. Each three of these guys, you can make an argument for them being the best fighter in each of their respective universes. But here's the thing, a little caveat. With both Batfleck and Battinson, they never really had their skill tested against an equally skilled fighter. So if Batfleck, well, the only person we've seen him go up against with like an actual name was Deadshot. And that almost doesn't even count, because both of them were holding back in the fight in some way. Batman didn't want to do the fight in front of his daughter, and Deadshot didn't want to take that killing shot. So kinda hard to gauge too much into it. However, that's kind of balanced out by the warehouse scene, because Batman showed a whole lot of skill and technique in that fight. I mean, he was able to take down 25, 30 armed men in just 2 minutes. He'll swiftly disarm opponents, use them as human shields, and even just send one person flying to the next. And Batman also actually showed that he was a particularly technical fighter, as he really focused in on breaking bones or going for joints and ligaments in order to put people down for good. Then you can kind of argue the same thing for Pattinson here. He did a real quick fight against Catwoman. She's a pretty good fighter. She's a better fighter than most everyone in the movie, but their fight wasn't real serious, kind of flirty even. Yeah, I wouldn't look too much into that. And outside of that, well, it's a lot of thugs and henchmen and I guess domestic terrorists, but let's not go there. And Batman did real well against all those guys, taking them out pretty easily, sometimes just 1 or 2 punches. But he was also getting beat up on, and they were landing punches on him too. Not many, but enough to where you start to notice as the movie goes on. And in the context of the movie, I actually think that's really cool, because it kind of turned to wherever you saw him get hit, made him look more human, and actually made you appreciate how much better he was than everybody else. It's like, oh, he can still be hit. Oh, he's still human. He is just a way better fighter. He's just way more skilled here, as opposed to being almost like supernatural, superhuman, unstoppable force where you can't even land a single punch or hit on it. So yeah, in the context of the movie, I appreciated it. For this fight, not great, because he was getting beat up on more than the other 2 Batmen. Not like they were perfect or whatever, they got beat up on too at times. It just comes across as Pattinson was a bit more inexperienced, a bit more raw. Then there's Bale, and he kind of gets some flack. People knock on him for being a slow fighter, or simply fighting a lot of his elbows or whatever, but I don't really think that's the case. I mean, I can see where that comes from. I get why you say that, but I actually think there's a lot more to it than just that. Batman is still a ridiculously skilled fighter. He just uses a much more functional and effective style of fighting. He's not jumping all around or doing crazy stunts like Batman from the Arkham games or even Batfleck. Nah, just whatever it takes to put his opponent down as quick as he can. And I mean, gets the job done. He's beat 4 ninjas from the League of Shadows at once without any real problem. He's able to pretty effortlessly take down large groups of thugs, mercenaries, or even SWAT officers in seconds. Probably most impressively, knocked out 12 to 15 thugs surrounding him on all sides, all attacking him at once, in literal seconds, without much trouble at all. And here's the thing about Bale and what sets him apart from the other 2 Batman. This Batman has fought guys of equal, arguably even greater skill, and still beat them. I'm talking Bane, I'm talking Ra's al Ghul. 2 of the best fighters the League of Shadows has ever produced. Pretty much Bruce's equal in a fight in almost every way. Nobody that Batfleck or Pattinson have fought can compare to Bane or Ra's, yet Bale beat both of them. So yeah, if you look at it that way, pretty easy to see that Bale is the best and most effective, most skilled fighter here. But funny as it might sound, just being the most skilled fighter doesn't mean you win here. Just like being the most physically powerful doesn't mean you win here. Because there's a whole lot to being the best Batman. And another big part of it is having some amazing, impressive gear. Now, Batfleck has some pretty nice gear on him, which I mean, yeah, it's obvious, he's Batman. His grappling gun is surprisingly fast, even using it to dodge Doomsday. He's not afraid to use it in a fight either. He's able to cut a gun in half with his batarangs. He used smoke bombs to sneak up on Superman. He's got sticky bombs powerful enough to blow up parademons. Bale has a pretty nice arsenal as well. Batarangs, explosives, smoke bombs, he's got his grappling hook. He can even use his cape as essentially a giant parachute of sorts. And if you really want to get into it, Batman also has a gun that can shoot out explosives, or another gun that can shut down all electronics in the area. But I really don't think he's carrying those out every night on his nightly patrol. And then Pattinson has basically the same gear. A batarang that's literally mounted right there on his chest, explosives. He's got an electric attack right there in his glove, a grapple gun that he'll shoot out and use in a fight. Then his cape can transform into a parachute too. This time, I literally mean a parachute. So a lot of the same gear, but I think the difference here is how they use it in a fight and how often they use it in a fight. So instantly, Bale is out. This is one of my biggest knocks against him, is that for having a lot of gear, and he does have a lot of gear, he doesn't really use it in fights, or at least not like how you'd expect playing the Arkham games or something like that. Pattinson does a better job at it. He uses grapple guns in fights and mess around with that. But it's really Batfleck here. He's the best one by far, by like a country mile. I mean, that warehouse scene really is about as close to a live-action Arkham Batman as you're gonna see. Plus, he's also just consistently taking on bigger and more dangerous threats than the other two. So, kinda has to use his gear and weapons just to be able to remotely compete with literal superhumans and gods and monsters. So all that being said, who's gonna win here? Now, hear me, it's not who's the best Batman. It's not who's the best Bruce Wayne. It's just who would win in a fight. And I think it's gonna have to be Batfleck. Pattinson is just a bit too young, a bit too inexperienced, a bit too rough around the edges to beat both these guys here. Not like in a novice way necessarily, more like Floyd Mayweather in the late 90s, more a brawler type compared to the absolute surgeon that he is now. His armor is absolutely insane. It will be super hard to get through, but I still don't see him beating both these guys and coming out on top. Bale is probably the most skilled hand-to-hand fighter, but he just can't compete with the strength and speed and durability of the other two, and isn't going to use his gear and gadgets in a fight like the other two will, or at least not to the same extent as the other two will. And that's in part because of the universe he lives in. We all know the Dark Knight trilogy is super grounded and meant to be realistic, but whatever the reason, it is what it is. And then there's Batfleck, and he's definitely the best combination of these three things: physicality, fighting skill, and especially using his gear in fights. With just the way he moves, the way he fights, the way he uses the right gear for the right situation, and also just how he's able to essentially defy physics and isn't afraid to beat the ever-living crap out of somebody, yeah, I'd say he's gonna come out on top here. Batfleck wins. But what do y'all think? Who do you think wins this fight? Batfleck or Christian Bale? I don't have a cool name for him. Or Pattinson? Who wins? Sign off in the comments down below. Also, be sure the like button, subscribe button, and turn notifications on the DanCo army. And I will see y'all next time.